Right, so now the VFR is done for now, and that can go out. The next thing is going to be getting back on with the NC50. So after looking at it for ages, it's been sitting there for about a year or so, I decided I want to raise the engine up a little bit because it's just there's some space there I can get rid of, and it's just going to do my head in. I've got to cut it all off again, well, most of it off again, and then readjust it and reseat it, which is a bit of a pain, but it should be doable without too much hassle. And once it's done, then I can just plough ahead and not worry about it too much. So I'll show you what I need to do. So the issue is there's a gap here, but what's more is from the top of the casing to here, there's another little gap. So if I was to raise the front, because what I can do is cut this manifold and turn it around to gain me a little bit more space. So even if I was to get that extra inch or so, there's a little bit at the back that's an issue. So if I can raise the back up a little bit, that means that the angle isn't too extreme on the front. I mean, the more I look at it, the more I question it. But you can see that there is a bit of a void in between there, and the engine does already sit up somewhat at the front. So I think the key would be to cut it along here, then raise that point up, so you reduce this gap here, pull that all up as tight as possible, and then there's about 1.5 centimeters to that casing. So once that's gone up, then we can adjust this front bolt to then pull it back up again, because it's pivoting on the back here, so there won't be as much, it won't be as noticeable. So the higher part on the back won't be as noticeable as it is, or so a bigger bit of movement on the back won't be as much on here because of the pivot angle, but then it'll mean it'll all just tighten up a little bit, and it is marginal, but I want to do it now so I don't have to worry about it in the future. I could chop this off and not have this tube, but this is critical. So the top of the casing against the bottom of this tube, which is a lot of the strength of it, is one of the main issues. So that's my limiting factor with it. It's not too bad, but I just want to get this closer to what it can be, just to make the geometry of it look a lot better. Right, so I think we've got it done. I've made a fair bit of mess, but it's all stuff, it looks horrendous, but I can cut it out and clean it, and where I've had to sort of bend it, I just, for what it's worth, I can clean up the weld, and it's all going to look legitimate once it's done. So it does look horrendous at the moment, but it will clean up because I've been there before, and it doesn't really look like much has happened, but it's basically like it's exactly that little margin, that issue that I had was I've solved it. So now I can just keep going and not worry about it. So yeah, brilliant. I'll show you. So yeah, this is that disgusting bit that I just said, and this is where I just had to cut it and bend them up because none of the holes align. So even if I'd have cut it off the original tube, it still wouldn't be the right geometry. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to zip up that, and that'll all just look like one thick weld, and then clean up the edges and all the corners, and that's not going to be noticeable once it's all done. Not noticeable to anyone that hasn't seen me do this, or average person. So it's just not worth worrying about, because I just want to get it done. This has been going for 3 years, and for the that you can just redo it all the time, so it's just not worth it. And it's double plated as well, so once it's double plated and double welded top and bottom, it's going to be super strong and not noticeable. You can see it's really ugly now. Usual thing when stuff's all welded together and that isn't painted, it looks disgusting. But once it's painted, you can't even tell. So the next thing is these bars on the original, with the original engine, it was a bit shorter, so it had a bar going side to side, so that was enough to keep the pedal, but they're really flimsy now. So I'm going to have to reinforce these somehow. I did have a bar across it, but I don't think that's going to fit. I'm going to re-engineer it. So I'll probably have a look and see where the exhaust is going to go first, and then make some other sort of support. I might incorporate it in some sort of bottom valance support, so it just sort of hides it somewhat, and looks like the original one. But yeah, that's the next one. And also in with it, I need to make the rear set here and the lever for the gear change. And I can't remember exactly what the issue was. I think it was just a bit awkward, and I was concerned I was going to touch it with my foot, but now having thought about it, I think it's not going to be so much of an issue as what I thought. So that's that. The next thing is this. I'm just going to sling some bits on there and see how it all fits. And this fitted like absolutely spot on as well. So yeah, I'm just going to, next thing is going to work out the geometry for the gear lever. I did think about putting like a rocker one like you have on them, on some crunchies, but it's not really worth it, because I mean, I guess I could, because then I can ride it with sandals if I wanted to, but I don't think I want it. Right, so I've made my decision. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use these foot pegs. There's some plastic covers that go on here, and then I'm just going to set that out. So just got an M14 bolt that's going to bolt through there. Then I'm going to weld that, keep that on that side on its own, and weld it onto a spigot that I'm going to machine down that's going to go through, and on this side have a little bit sticking out, and on that I can put a little bush that I'll weld the gear lever to. So that'll weld on that side, and then the arm that goes to the actual lever or the receiver or the slave or whatever on the back will go around the back and then curve around here, because there shouldn't be enough movement for that to hit on there. We will see. Yeah, that should be enough, I reckon. I don't know what the distance would be like with this, for how further forward, if it is going to need extending or not. It looks a little bit close, but I think it should be okay. So yeah, I'm just going to machine that down and get that to the right size. Maybe put a step on it this side to weld on, get those dimensions, and then I'll either circlip it or split pin through to hold the sleeve that's going to be on the gear lever on that side, and then go from there once that's done. So I'm going to get that one done, do the other side with a brake similar, and then once that's done and I've got the geometry right for the gear lever, I can then focus on reinforcing this a little bit. And this is how far I've got. So I machine that spigot there, so that's just going to drill through a hole, and it's just the right amount so the arm goes in there. So it just needs another arm added on to come up to then have a connection to the rear set to be able to transfer the movement from there to there, and that'll be it. So that's quite cool. That side, that's all done. for now. I'm going to leave it there today. So yeah, that side's done. So yeah, that side's done. I'm going to leave it there today. Just needs a little arm on top of there to connect to here. Should bin off. I'm going to see if I can make them adjustable somewhat, just to make it a bit easier if there is any issues with it. They've been a bit awkward or a bit out. I might need to lengthen this as it's really bent from when it was off a dirt bike. Yeah, I might have to lengthen that, but it doesn't matter. I could do it for another day. I always say that doesn't matter, but I do care. But there's no, unless I test it on the road, I don't really know, and it's something that can be done after because it's removable. So I'm not too concerned about that. It's not critical for the build. So yeah, same will be on the other side. Put the brake lever on and get all the brake assembly and everything put out. And then once that's done, is reinforce it. But that should be it. And that's going to be it for today. I'm going to tidy up, and that's it. Thank you very much.